Welcome everyone. I'm Dobbs Davis, USA editor of Seahorse magazine. I'm going to be giving you some live updates here twice a day to the 2012 Newport Bermuda race. I'm going to start with this Friday night preview of the race. We've got 6-hour tracking delays set up in the yellow brick tracking system, so we can't really talk about anything in real time. The organizers have set the system up that way, but I thought I'd use this opportunity before we go into some of the details of the race and the strategy to talk a little bit about who's racing this year. 265 boats divided into 15 classes. There's 4 divisions. The biggest one that people tend to look for is the St. David's Lighthouse division. The sailors in this division on all the boats are generally amateur sailors. There's a limitation on having professional helmsmen on each of these boats. But let's just go through class by class and see who some of our favorites might be. In Class 1, the St. David's Lighthouse Division, this is an interesting class. It's one that's populated mostly by boats that can actually win this race. In years where the weather is right and the faster boats might run into a wall and the slower boats still have breeze, these are the guys that are really poised to win overall. So in the past, that's been Sinn Féin, for example, Pete Rivovich's Cal 40. There's a few other Cal 40s, Doug Jurius and Belle Aurore. Nicole, Tad DuPont's boat, that's also very well sailed. Selkie is also another boat that you see sometimes high in the standings. And then I'm also going to be looking for Jim Grundy on Grundoon. That's his father's Columbia 50. Built in 1966, and it was renovated, and it looks like a really nice boat. So we're going to be looking carefully at those boats in this class. In Class 2, boats that are a little bit faster. These are boats that are, typically cruiser racers designs, not any real flat-out racing boats. But the one to watch there is Dorade. This is a classic S&S boat. Has won many yacht races over the years. And if the conditions are right, they could still be in the game in this race. Just scrolling down into Class 3, the boat to watch here for sure in this class is Carina. Carina won the race last year. This is one of the best sailed boats of this era. This boat was a more traditional design, but as a globetrotter, in December were down at the Sydney Hobart race. I don't know that they did particularly well there, but again, very well sailed boat, very well prepared team, and they are the defending champions from last year. Class 4, quite a few different boats in here that again are mostly cruiser racer designs or even racer cruisers. Christopher Dragon is one of our favorites. Andrew Weiss and his family sail that boat very well. They've had traditionally very good results. Another one I'm going to watch is Hal Palmer's Relativity. That's a Beneteau 53 with a team that's mostly from Florida. In Class 5, this is going to be a very interesting class to watch. This is the J44 class. In fact, this is the only class in the event that's really sailing as a one design class. So these guys have, as you can see by their matrix of speed values here in the ORR scoring, they're nearly identical. There's a couple of variations. Some of them are sailing with an asymmetric spinnaker and a pole. We can see Charlie 5 is sailing with a symmetric spinnaker, but really very close racing, nearly boat for boat. These guys are going to be fighting tooth and nail all the way over the 635-mile course. Class 6, this class will, I think, have some potential race winners. It just kind of depends on the weather. But the ones that caught my eye were Dr. Steve Sherwin's Nasty Medicine. That's a Corby design boat, 42 feet. And the other one is Temptress. This boat, when it was owned by Richie Shulman, was actually a race winner in the past, and it's an IMX 45. But several possibilities and some strong players in that class. Class 7, talking to one of my colleagues, John Rosenmuir, he thinks that Gracie is the boat to watch here. They were second overall last year, and very well sailed, well prepared. They can do well. Convictus Maximus is Don Nicholson's boat. Is a FAR 42. Sailed also with a Canadian team. He's poised to do well. We'll keep our eyes out for them. And now we start getting into the real racing boats in Class 8. These are boats that are designed and built more recently. Carbon boats, very fast down the race course. Kodiak is actually ex-Blue Yankee, or it is Blue Yankee. It's being chartered by Lloyd Eckelson and his team. This is a Reichel Pugh 66-foot boat built at King Marine in Argentina a few years ago. Very fast. Steve Benjamin is on board. Gary Jobson's on board. They have a strong team, strong boat. Look for them to do well. Conviction is TP52 that Ralphie Stites and his guys from the Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, they're very, I think the boat is relatively new to them, but it's a very strong boat, a former Med Cup winner. Invictus as well. This will be a rivalry we'll see in this class between Conviction and Invictus. They're both Service Academy TP52s. Invictus is the U.S. Naval Academy's ex-Samba Pati. This was a Transpac race winner. So these boats are quite fast, quite strong, well prepared, and sailed by young guys who are very keen. Decision is an interesting boat. That's brand new Carkeek HPR 40, a new generation of offshore race boats, all carbon boat built at McConaughey. This will be their first, no, actually their second long race. They sailed in the race in the Gulf of Mexico last month, but they have an nearly all amateur team to qualify to be in St. David. So I'm going to keep my eyes out on them. They're one of the smaller boats in this division of mostly 50 and 50 plus footers. But as you can see, they're quite fast in their numbers, so they'll be one to watch. Next down in Class 9, these are boats that are up in the high 50s and 60-foot range. This is actually the first of the Gibbs Hill division. These are boats that are sailed by unrestricted crews. They may be professionals, they may be amateurs. There's no restrictions in this class. So one of the boats that I'm going to keep my eye on is Ptarmigan, Larry Dickey's Jason Kerr design 43-footer. This is an all-carbon boat, very well sailed, very well prepared. I think they'll do quite well if the weather permits. And a variety of other boats here that also can do quite well. Snowline, also Larry Huntington's boat. And then Class 10. These are the guys that are going to get the headlines. I think these are the fastest of the fast division. Rambler, George David's boat. Everybody knows that name. This is George's second boat. His first boat is still without a keel from their Fastnet incident last year. So George, undaunted, has come back into the game, and he's using a boat that's ex-Shockwave and is very fast, very well prepared. No doubt we'll be looking for them to lead the pack all the way to Bermuda. Bellamente is a boat to watch. This boat is brand new, a Udall Vrolik 72, built right at New England Boat Works. So this is a brand new team. They are the Transpac winners from last year on Hap Faust's previous boat. Very well prepared, and I look for them to do quite well. Team Tiburon is the team from Bermuda, led by Mark Watson. They've got a U.S. Merchant Marine Academy label on it, but this is the boat that is the former STP-65 Moneypenny that the Merchant Marine Academy has had, and Mark Watson is a sponsor for bringing that team into the race. But all these boats are very well sailed and very well prepared. We'll look for them toward the front of the pack once we get our position reports. Now, cruiser divisions. These are guys that I like to say are drinking wine with dinner and having a good time. But nonetheless, I'm sure they're going to be competitive out there. You can see that some of them are going non-spinnaker. Most of them are asymmetric spinnakers, probably without poles, flying the kites off center line when they can. But these guys are going to be racing, some for the first time, some are actually Bermuda race veterans, but this is just a little bit more relaxed in Class 11 and Class 12, and I believe, yes, also Class 13. Now, Class 14 is a double-handed division, 2 people on the boat. There's a wide variety of boat types in this class. But I think what's really exciting is Class 15 in the double-handed division. These are mostly Class 40s. This is a very exciting development to see the Class 40s coming to America. They have quite a big following in France and the UK. There's over 100 of these things sailing around in the North Atlantic. They've just completed a series called the Atlantic Cup, which was a race from Charleston to New York. Then they raced from New York to Newport and then had some inshore racing in Newport. This was all last month. Next for them will be, as a class besides this race, will be across the Atlantic from Quebec to Saint Malo later in August. But it's going to be really exciting to see these guys. Joe Harris is a good friend. I've sailed with him. And in Griffin Solo 2, it's a new Acalaria, a very good boat. So I'm going to keep my eye on him. But Mike Hennessy on Dragon is also quite good. So that's going to be a good division to watch. And then last but not least is this open division. These are boats with canting keels and other features that don't allow them to be included in the other divisions. I think the fastest boat here is Donnybrook. This is X Magnitude 80, brand new to Jim Muldoon and his team. This is a canting-keeled boat that was most seen on the West Coast, now new to the East Coast. And so Jim and his team will have their hands full learning this boat and sailing it fast to Bermuda. Now, let's go back to the yellow brick here. This is the big screen, and as you can see by the geographic features and a little bit by the tracking delay, but and I'll zoom in on this shortly, but just wanted to show the overall 635-mile course from Newport out over the continental shelf into the deep ocean and into Bermuda. Now, this race, essentially, I'm going to go to not to here, but over to here to show how this race is really split into three parts. And this is the traditional division of the Bermuda race. There is the part in the cold water, sailing on the continental shelf, where it can be foggy and cold and nasty, and the first night out is usually not a pleasant one as the boats get out over this continental shelf. The second part of this race is over here in the Gulf Stream and getting through the various meanders and eddies. Now, this year's image is interesting because you can see there's really just one big eddy here and a big meander. Hopefully on your screens you can see that the current arrows are pointing almost down in this area where my cursor is showing a trend toward the southeast and then down the rum line, so very positive current directions. Now, this has always been a significant part of this race because these currents can be 3 to 5 knots in strength, and certainly for slower boats, it's a significant boost that they can get and slingshot their way down the rum line. Then the third and final part of this race, and again, depending on the Gulf Stream geometry, it can be a very large part, as we're seeing here. It looks like it's more than half the race this year, or it can be proportionally smaller, just depending on the positions of these gyres. But certainly the better part of half this race will be spent in the warmer waters south of the Gulf Stream. There's a few minor eddies and other possible little pitfalls that the fleet is going to have to navigate on their way down here toward the finish line in Bermuda, but we'll go through those in the next few days and see how they develop. Now, I wanted to bring everybody's attention to this, which is the Twitter feed that's going on. Basically, throughout the race, people are sending tweets. As the organizers and others are sending tweets about the race and sending their experience. So this is a great way to follow things in real time. But now I'm going to go back to Yellow Brick and zoom in. Now there's a lot of features and great controls here on Yellow Brick, and we'll be working with them in the next few days. But basically zooming in and panning through the fleet, you can see that the boats show up as individual colors on the boat icons. So this will be a really good feature that we're going to be using in our broadcast. So as you move your cursor over each of these, you can get the boat type, the boat name, what country it's from, the position and the time that position was reported, as well as the speed and the distance of the finish. So this is all really good information that we'll be using to track the fleet. Already you can see that the boats have sagged a bit. Now, why are they sagging and why are they so straight? Well, the big story this year is the weather. A reaching and spinnaker start in Bermuda is nearly unheard of, and yet we had this year. Those that are following have probably seen the reports, but phenomenal fast start to this year's race. The weather is showing that this northeast breeze is going to hold throughout tonight, and also into the certainly into tomorrow and even into Sunday. Now the forecast shows that this Sunday about midday or so, that northeast breeze is due to start dying out and changing. But the big news is that this is looking like a very fast race for the fast boats. If they are able to get down the rum line and get through it quickly, they are going to be able to have a shot at breaking this year's record. It's the record, by the way, is held by Pywack at Roy Disney's Maxi 86 that was sailed back in 2002. Now they set the course record at 53 hours, 29 minutes, 22 seconds for an average speed of 11.8 knots. Well, guess what, folks? We can't show you the real-time position reporting from Yellow Brick, but I do know that these boats are now reporting speeds of over 16 and in some cases up to 18 knots. They are really screaming down the track. So I think the first to finish boats are well ahead of record pace, certainly in the early hours of this race. In fact, for the average speeds, if they're able to average 15 knots over the course, that knocks over 10 hours off the course record time. So there are boats capable of that. The big question is whether or not they're going to have the weather. And in fact, the outright record for a non-Lighthouse division entry was Morning Glory's Hasso Plattner's Maxi 86 that sailed the race in 2004, and they did it in 48 hours and 38 minutes. So even that time is certainly capable, because that's a 13-knot average. Boats are 3 and 4 knots over that speed right now. So really, it's going to be an exciting race, and I invite you all to join me tomorrow morning for my next broadcast. We're going to target that for about 8:30 in the morning tomorrow, Saturday, and so reporting semi-live here from the Newport Bermuda race, I'm Dobbs Davis.